I think we can start. It's 10 o'clock on the dot. So yes, just a very, very warm, and it's literally a warm welcome this morning. Thank you so much for joining us for this. Is our fourth, I think, if I counted correctly, our fourth annual nutrition symposium that the Nutrition Society of South Africa and the Food Evolution is hosting together. And it's been one of those partnerships that just keeps growing and growing each year. And we are hoping that next year we will see each other again in person. I think it's the right time to host the in-person events again. But thank you so much for everyone for joining this morning online. So we are excited that for this topic also, to discuss this topic. And if you are not already in a good mood, I'm sure that you, after the symposium, you will be in a good mood. And if you're not, then at least you will know how to get there. So just something on the two entity or two societies that is hosting this event. So the Nutrition Society of South Africa, we aim to promote scientific study of nutrition and promote appropriate strategies for the improvement of nutrition well-being. And I'm going to also post the link to the Nutrition Society in the chat so that you can also have a look at our website. And we really want to encourage you to become a member of the society, and you will find all the information on the website as well. Then the Food Evolution Research Laboratory is based within the University of Johannesburg, and yeah, they do a range of research topics more on the evolution of diet. And I'm also going to post the website of the Food Evolution Research Lab in the chat as well, so that you can also on your own time look through it and see if there's anything that you are interested in collaborating. Dr. Yima Kisa is the director of that unit, so you're welcome to contact her as well. So just some house rules. We will have 3 speakers today, very, very exciting speakers. I will introduce the speaker before their topic, and then they will give their presentation, and after the presentation we will have a Q&A for that speaker. And I would like you to please post your questions in the Q&A section so that we can address them after the presenter has presented. So yes, then it gives me great honor to present, to introduce our first speaker. So Ms. Mpho Tuduka is an integrative and functional nutrition dietitian. In her practice, she uses food and its nutritional compounds, stress management, sleep, and exercise to promote optimal health. Nothing excites her more than blending nutritional compounds and cultural memories. She co-authored a self-help recipe book, Eating with Anna Trepido, and it answers the unaddressed need for South African cultural nutritional guidance, which is very interesting. She completed her master's in food culture, communication, and marketing with a focus on high-quality sustainable foods at the University of Gastronomic Science in Italy. So we look forward to your presentation, Mpho, and yes, you're welcome to start whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bianca, and good morning to all the panelists and the participants. Can you see the screen clearly? Hello?
You need to change it to a presenter mode, presentation, and then it should be fine.
It worked. Can you see clearly now?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Mpho.
Okay. So today I'm going to speak to you about gut health and the relationship between our mood and how we can use different food that we have in the environment to improve our mood and gut health. So we will look at the food-mood connection. We'll look at mindful eating on how we can pay attention to what we eat, looking at the importance of sustainable food choices. We'll also look at why it's important for us to consider local and seasonal eating. Then we'll have a broad look at foods that have good effects, specifically looking at indigenous or heritage foods in South Africa, and foods that do have adverse effects on our gut. That means also on our mood, and simple strategies on how to implement this. So we all hear about the food-mood connection, and research is now very intensely looking at the gut-brain axis. That means that there is a bidirectional connection between our gut and our brain. And what's important is that the gut microbiota is at the center of this, and we know that it does regulate our physical and mental health. We know that by also this axis does influence our mood, our cognition, and it does reduce our risk of mental health disorders. In summary, we need foods that is low GI carbohydrates, that is high in quality proteins, in essential fats, especially your EPAs and your DHA. It's important for us to improve our fiber intake, also look at foods that are high in prebiotics and also probiotics. It's also important for us to lower foods that are high in sugar and those that are processed, because we do know that they negatively affect our mood, energy levels, and they do increase anxiety. This is a simple explanation on the relationship between the gut and the brain. On your left-hand side, we see the effects on the gut and the effects that the brain has on the gut, and on the right-hand side is what the gut has on the brain. We all remember when you were in primary school or even university, when you had to write an exam, that you realized that you had stomach crumbling, some people have diarrhea, some people had butterflies. That is because whatever happens in the gut affects whatever is happening in the brain, and what happens in the brain affects what's in the gut. The brain does affect it affects our stool consistency. It affects the transit time. It does affect the diarrhea and constipation. What happens in our brain also does have a big effect on bloating and gas and intestinal permeability, meaning that the bacteria and food and nutrients and chemicals that are not supposed to move from the gut do permeate into the body system and influence inflammation. It does affect nutrient delivery on how we absorb and how much we absorb the foods. It affects the secretions that we have in our guts that are important for digestion. It also affects the balance of the good and bad bacteria, and we also know that it does affect our weight. The gut on the brain does affect our stress. It affects anxiety, our mood, our motivated behavior, and cognitive function. We know that it does hugely affect appetite, what we crave, especially foods that are sugary and also salty, on how we choose our food, on our energy levels, and the neurotransmitters. So when we're talking about mindful eating, it's important that we look beyond nutrients that we are eating. When you eat food, because we are all social beings and food is important to our culture and our connections, that you save our food and appreciate where the food comes from. It's also important to consider sensory health, which is one of my interests in research, that we understand that the flavor and nutrition of the food does influence our food choices. In many African cultures and also in Eastern cultures, like in India, they do eat with our hands. This is very important with sensory health, because touching the food, you tend to be connected to the food, but it's also part of a touch as a sense. But some people will tell you that it tastes much better when you eat food with your hands versus with utensils. Also, we need to realize that we're all living in very stressful environments, that we need to calm down before we eat. If you are somebody who prays, saying a short prayer, or you can do 3 deep breaths, like in, out, and in, out, it calms you down, it primes your body for digestion, it reduces the cortisols, and it reduces the side effects like bloating and indigestion and having a lot of gas. And also consider to be grounded. We all work in offices and we're all very busy. So if you do have a garden or some place that is natural around you, try to get out away from your desk when you are going to eat. That being in nature does calm us down. And even there is a paper that showed that even if you can't go outside, by running a slideshow on your computer of pictures of nature does calm you down and prime your body for digestion. Also that eating with other people and sharing food is important for our well-being. It's important for us to be connected to other people. So stay away from screens and TV and TikTok while you are eating. And also being mindful helps us to listen to our body. You get a chance to hear, to sort of sense how this food reacts in your body, and also your hunger cues, because if you are busy typing an email or watching TV, you don't even have a time to say, am I full or hungry? You eat because the food is there, and you finish and you're like, did I eat? And yes, you ate, but you did not register in your brain that you were eating. Talking about sustainable food choices for better mood, research has shown that throughout the world, we depend on about 12 crops and 5 animals for about 75% of our energy needs. So 61% of the calories that we eat comes from 12 crops, mainly sugarcane, corn, wheat, and rice, things like soy and potatoes. And about 14% of our energy needs come from 5 animals like chicken, buffalo, goat, pigs, and cattle. So if you look at this, you do realize that our diet is not varied. Our diet is monotonous throughout the world. It doesn't consider regional varieties. So it's important that when you're thinking about sustainable food choices, realize that a healthy life is important. Your healthy life is important for the healthy environment, that what happens in the world does affect us individually. Looking at the food system, we do know that it does contribute immensely to climate change. We know that about 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions are from food, and about 60% of the 30% are actually from methane from animals. This global food system contributes widely to biodiversity because we plant few crops. Then it means that if you don't have biodiversity, you're missing out on other nutrients, which we'll look at later today, that are important to our health. It causes malnutrition. It also affects causes deadly diseases because we are encroaching closer and closer to animals that we're not supposed to. It affects water loss because these crops and the animals that we so depend on use a lot of water, which is not sustainable, especially looking at South Africa being a dry country. We don't use our water wisely. Because of the way that we farm, it affects soil erosion, and because of the logistics of transporting food, it does affect food waste, which causes malnutrition, and it does contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. When you consider sustainability, just remember that there is an interaction between people's health and the economy and the profit of the company and also the planet. You can't remove any of these from the equation. And it's also very important to note that when people are asked about sustainable foods, they don't consider nutrition as an important part of the conversation. So it's always important to stress that some of the most nutrient-dense foods that we have do have higher impacts on the climate. So we need to have a balancing act. Don't just push food away because it's bad for the climate, but consider the merit that it has on our nutrition. The importance of looking at local and seasonal foods Whether you call them indigenous, traditional, or heritage foods, is because it's our taste preference. It's important when you're feeding people, you consider food that is familiar to them, because food is not just nutrition, it's memories, a sense of connection. It means a lot to other people. And nutrition is always not the first choice when people choose foods. The other important thing is that it's regional, meaning that it does support the regional economy, but it's seasonal, meaning also that it gives you higher nutrients at the point because it's picked when it's ripe. They are also climate smart. We'll look at South African indigenous and heritage foods that they do very well in the middle of the heat with no water. Even if when the soil is not fertile, they're still able to produce, they are drought tolerant, and because they grow much faster, you're able to harvest them at a short time. So you continuously have fresh foods, especially the vegetables like morogo, over time without waiting for a longer time for them to be harvested. So that actually helps to fill the nutrient gaps in communities, especially where there is not enough of funds to go around. The importance of also local eating, remember that it does diversify your diet, meaning there's more color, there's more variety, there's more texture, instead of some things that are soft all around. The indigenous foods also come with different textures. And one of the other aspects that I'm passionate about is choosing foods that are better, because they tend to be higher in phytochemicals, which are good for the gut microbiome. But because we haven't learned to do taste test interactions, we tend to stay away from them, or if we do eat them, we put a lot of fat and sugar in order to take away the better taste. But there are other ways of cooking food to mask the bitterness without actually reducing the nutritional components of the food. But they're also important for cultural preservation and community. So foods that are good for the gut and also our mood, we'll talk about them now. They are whole grains like sorghum and millet. We have tubers like amadumbe, cassavas, and sweet potatoes. Legumes, they come in different colors and sizes and shapes. Dairy, especially when it's fermented. We have tea and infusions. We have fruits. They may be limited because of in different seasons, and vegetables, especially when we eat them with the skin for the benefit of fiber. Foods that we should avoid, that we know that they negatively affect our gut, means that they are sweet, certain foods like fried foods, especially with refined oils. They also are processed, so they are white because they remove the fiber, which is in the brain, and processed meats, and also overconsumption of red meat in expense of other types of meat, and also plant proteins. So we will look at foods that can help to improve your mood, specifically looking at our indigenous or heritage foods. These are grains, beans, and lentils. We do know that they are high in phytates that can negatively affect the absorption of minerals, important minerals such as zinc and iron. So in order for you to reduce their impact on zinc and iron, you can sprout them, you can soak them, or you can ferment them. This is a different pictures of what you can do with grains. There's a sorghum. So on the left-hand side, it's fermented sorghum ting. So the book that we wrote with Anna, each ting is fermented sorghum. You can ferment it, or you can cook it as it is. You can make it a porridge. You can make it lunch and supper. I grew up in Rustenburg. We eat it breakfast, lunch, and supper with no problems. Then in the middle, there is cooked sorghum porridge that is not fermented with chotol, which is pulled beef. You can also bake with them. You can make flapjacks. You can make a variety of things. I also bake with them. You can make popcorn. You can make interesting things with sorghum. Don't just look at it as a meal only that to be had at lunch. It's also important to look at nature's color. On the right-hand side is corn. Corn comes from Mesoamerica. There are about 60 different types of corn. It comes in different colors, and blue and purple and yellow, and colors, which means there's nutrients, but there's also phytonutrients. There's also fibers that are in there. In South Africa, This is what we eat on the left-hand side. We think it's our heritage foods. It is white. That means there's no nutrients, there's no fiber. We're missing out on phytonutrients. So we need to go back to what nature offers us than what is convenient. When you're looking at fruits that we do have, especially in Southern Africa, you have baobab, tree tomatoes, we have cacao, we have things like African horn cucumber, and a variety of leaves and fruits. They are very high in polyphenols because they are bitter, but they also come in different colors. They have polyphenols like resveratrols in fruits and vegetables, and they have carotenoids from yellow and orange produce, and the purple ones would also give you procyanidins, the blue purple ones, and things like baobab, which is something that is indigenous to Africa, can be used for breakfast and dessert. We can bake with it. It makes beautiful salad dressing. You can also ferment it, which is very good for your gut. It also comes with, it has more vitamin C than oranges or even guavas. It has other prebiotic fibers that are good for your gut. It also has other important minerals that we do need on a daily basis. So this is African horn cucumber on your left-hand side. It's a cucumber that has a lemony taste. So it goes very well with a fruit salad and also with a vegetable salad, and it goes very well with vodka. Then you have beetroot, which is a staple in every South African home. You can even cook it on Sunday and it can last the whole week. It is packed with nutrients, but just remember to roast it, then boil it, and don't cook it for like a very long time until it dies. In South Africa, we don't have much use of fruits as desserts, but cooking figs and quince and peaches and apples, pears for Sunday desserts instead of using the baked goods that are very high in sugar. It's also a good strategy. You can have them with yogurt or mask curds and shavings of coconut, or you can also include nuts and seeds for a healthy dessert that is guilt-free. Then spices and probiotics. Spices and herbs, excuse me, they are very high in prebiotics, especially your iron, garlic, and ginger, black pepper, cayenne pepper, ginger, and rosemary. If you're looking at, especially with in African homes, it's not, we didn't grow up using a lot of spices compared to Indian homes. And it's important to also guide your clients to incorporate spices in their foods. A lot of people think the easiest way is to just add ginger and lemon and turmeric to their water, but they can make salads, they can make curries and soups and have them as a daily intake to improve their gut health. So it's important that we teach those strategies. This is a picture of different wild leaves, morogo, in South Africa. We have over 60 different types in South Africa. The Western Cape is a winter rainfall, so theirs is a little bit different. But it's also important to realize that communities tend to grow whatever that they like or whatever that is easier. So when somebody says morogo, just, mean that it grows wild, but it's also nutritious. They are actually herbs because they are very strongly flavored. They do add color because amaranth also comes in 12 different types. They're high in antioxidants than most fruits and root crops. They are high in fiber, and you also cook them in 5 minutes because in most cultures they cook them for a very long time until they die. So it's important to emphasize them. Frozen vegetables are also good. There's nothing wrong with them. Even if vegetables are canned, as long as you're eating vegetables. And these traditional leaves can be added to soups. You can eat them raw. You can dry them. The way that moringa is so popular, you can do the same thing with all of the other morogos that you find. I make a beautiful pesto out of them, and you can use them in baking. So on the left-hand side, there is amaranth, which is tepe. Traditionally is cooked with with ground nuts or peanuts. And here we used walnuts just to make it different. You can make a smoothie out of it. And also to emphasize that this trend of nose to tail or using the whole plant is nothing new. It's something that has always existed in our cultures, that you have a squash, so you have this the flesh of it, you use the stems, you also use the leaves, and you take the seeds. Some cultures, they take the seeds and they grind them into a powder and use it as a soup thickener instead of the packet soup that we are now using, or you can toast them and use a beautiful salad. Don't throw anything away. There are nutrients in the whole plant. When it comes to legumes and nuts, these are plant proteins. They are especially legumes, because they do have carbohydrates, are low GI, they have fiber, they also have anti-inflammatory fats, and we have them in different colors. You have purple, blue, green, yellow, different sizes. You can do a lot of things with them. You can make pestos, you can make soups, you can make nut milks, you can add them to casserole, you can bake with them. So your opportunities are endless. Dairy, in a lot of the communities, you find that they prefer fermented milk, which is more like closer to yogurt. If yogurt is unsweetened, this is because there is a high prevalence of lactose intolerance. So by fermenting, the bacteria eats the lactose and turns it into lactic acid. So it's easy to tolerate if you're lactose intolerant. And also when you're eating cheeses, they're hard cheeses, and consider using dairy, even if it's fermented, for breakfast or as a snack or as a dessert. Okay. And just to implement what we talked about, fiber needs, we need to realize that a lot of people's fiber intakes are low, that we need to be aiming for about 25 to 38 grams in a day. And this can be easily done by incorporating whole grains, having beans and lentils every day, having fruits with the skin and vegetables throughout the day. Then aim for variety. So when I tell my clients that we're doing 30 different plant foods a day, it's very easy. It includes the spices, it includes the herbs, it includes tea, like I love rooibos, I drink it for the economy, and nutrition. So think about different things that you can add. It's easier in summer when there's a lot of variety. And also remember to eat in color. Your sense of sight needs to be excited when you see the food that is tree ripened. Also reduce your processed meats and red meat about 2 times in a day. Consider plant proteins. Remember, they come with protein, but there's also fiber, there's nutrients, other nutrients like minerals and vitamins. Reduce your ultra processed foods and eat probiotic rich foods. And research on probiotics is that it does work, but it's important to realize that you need to use probiotics therapeutically, not thinking that one probiotic is going to solve your health problems, that you have specific strains for a specific gut condition. One of my favorite saying is that if we are what we eat, if we ignore our taste preference and familiar food fondness, we become someone else. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mpo. That was really, really interesting. I haven't seen any questions. Oh, I see, yes, one question. I'm just going to read it out. Thank you for the nice food suggestions, but how would you advise us to plan for these, considering that they take time to prepare? People most times eat junk food or lack of healthier option being available at the time, and the lack of time to prepare the meals. So how can we ensure that we have these veggies accessible even at work?
Okay, with respect to time, at Eskom willing, grains, yes, they take a lot of time. You need to soak them for 8 to 24 hours. The easiest strategy that I use, even with my clients, is that you cook them in bulk. So if on a Saturday morning, I would cook 2 different grains and three different legumes, and you freeze them in a portion that you know you're going to use. So when you come back from work, you just fry your onion and tomatoes and maybe add carrots, and you empty that. You can you've defrosted obviously like the morning before, then you empty it into your pot and cook them. And it's also that there's nothing wrong with leftovers. That if I cooked a lot of foods on Sunday, I can use them on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, obviously change them up, then on Wednesday cook again, as long as you make sure that your temperature of the fridge is okay. And you know, there's no perfect, you can't have a perfect diet every day. The aim is just to try and yeah, you know, freeze them. People make stews and they freeze them. You can make your smoothies, like chop them up before that, before you use them. Like on Sunday, pre-package them and put them in Ziplocs, and in the morning you just take them and put your fluids and whip them up and eat them. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I think it's so important. Just I think it also comes down to what you are prepared to do and what you you know, how do you rank the importance of your diet in order to prepare enough. There's also a question in the chat, if there's a recipe book with this healthy recipes available. Do you know of a recipe book?
I co-wrote Eating with Dr. Anna Trapido. So the book is out of print because we're working on something else, but it's on Google Books, so you can get an e-copy right now. It has a lot of recipes and funny things that you will see yourself in there. We all have been guilty of, looking at tribe and calling it hair.
Yeah, true. I also see that there's a comment in there too, you know, how do we keep our diet, you know, the consistency of following a healthy diet. I think almost you answered it in terms of, you know, you can't follow a perfect diet every single day. So it's all about, you know, the balance out of it. So I think you almost answered that. I also have a question on, you know, we see this a lot now, when, especially amongst young people, in my opinion, where they're completely moving away, or they didn't even move into the indigenous food space and actually trying indigenous foods because of a variety of different things. I think it is starting to change now. But I mean, if I take my own experience, there's nothing that makes me, you know, feel better and in a good mood than taking an old recipe that I got from my mother and she got from her grandmother and so on, and actually, you know, cooking that recipe with their ingredients. It just, there's something about that connection to the heritage and that affects my mood especially. So I don't know if you also experience that in practice, where people are now starting to move a little bit more towards, you know, embracing that side and the more indigenous foods, or do you think we still have a long way to go?
I think it's getting better. I whatever you're describing, I call it Holy Communion. When I miss my mother, there's something, I go to basic things that she fed me, nothing fancy, but I feel connected. And with young people, we need to realize that, you know, culture is an influence of, you know, there's no culture that is static. We are influenced by other people. We lose ingredients and we gain some. So in promoting you know, local ingredients, we also need to make them more trendy. If you look at African cooking, it's just salt, water and butter and chilies. There isn't something fancy. You don't have the Italian or French techniques, but there's nothing wrong. What we showcase with eating is that you can take sorghum and make a risotto out of it. You can bake with it. So it's about being creative with our ingredients and thinking out of the box. Like simple things, you know, grandmother would cook samp beans and groundnuts, which is a complete meal. All she'd put is butter and salt. But you can make a vinaigrette, you can roast vegetables, you can, you know, judge it up and make it 2023. It's not like you're losing the meaning. It's just you know, making it much more interesting than eating the same thing over and over. And it's also that nutrition is not taught in school, which is actually a travesty. Basic cooking skills, we do understand that parents are busy and homework is like a mountain. But, you know, teaching children from a younger age to just have 5 basic recipes that they can do, getting them in the kitchen is also very important.
Yeah, I really like that idea of that, you know, the 5 top recipes that if someone wakes you up in the middle of the night, you would be able to make those.
You
I
all
like
need
that
to
idea.
have five go-to recipes, like 5 ingredients, you know, basic, nothing fancy that, you know, you can look into your fridge instead of going to an app and saying, let me order food, basic things.
Yes. Yeah, I think that also makes it easier not to go there, because it's very easy to go on your app and just within 30 minutes you have food, which is not ideal and speaks to the food environment we actually live in. Then my last question, I think we have 5 minutes left for questioning. If you can maybe comment on you know, the whole sustainability versus indigenous food and that link with each other, because I think it also it almost answers each other. You know, if you increase you know, indigenous food consumption and you experiment more with that actually, you know, increases your sustainability mark that you leave. So yeah, if you can maybe comment on that.
Yeah, it's actually true and very important to realize that sorghum and millet, which are our indigenous grain, are drought resistant. They don't need as much water as corn and wheat does. They grow very easily and they are nutrient packed. They have antioxidants. Some of them are higher than the blueberries that we like buying at expensive prices in that cold shop. And they come with fiber. They're also high in protein. And different types of morojos, you have wild fruits, which are not, there's not a lot now. But if you're thinking about, like I was saying, we're eating 12 crops and five animals, we're losing out on a variety of things like okra, things like what they call gushe in Venda, which has the mucus, which is high in prebiotics, and some people look down on because they don't like that mucilage, that it gives prebiotics, it has nutrients in it. We need to go back to really re-evaluating what is important, that, you know, having a strategy for health and nutrition and climate health together. It's also very interesting that if you're looking at countries' food-based dietary guidelines, there's less than a handful that actually do incorporate climate change into the food-based dietary guideline. We keep on saying eat dairy. We keep on saying, you know, have beans regularly. Beans needs to be breakfast, lunch, and supper. We need to think about how we're positioning our food-based dietary guide, that way. Then it goes together. That also, for me, also with part of my work in going into indigenous foods was that I was realizing that my education and the way we were taught nutrition, I was alienating my rural client. I was telling them that for you to be healthy, you need to lose who you are. And it felt like an insult that I'm telling you to choose between culture and health. And there's nothing wrong with the food. It's just that we don't come from a culture that says, sorghum has prebiotics and prebiotics and low GI and nutrients. And if you empower the clients and make them and see them and make them realize that, you know, it can form part of our health, it's them going back to their cultural diet. And for me doing that, my clients teach me a lot of things. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And with my brain, I sort of think, wow, that means in chemistry, this is it. In physics, this is it. It does that, because I can see the connection. So yeah, it's learning. It's not in textbooks. We hope to get it there one day, but it's important.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think it's such an important conversation to have, especially because I know our South African food-based dietary guidelines are really up for review. So I'm sure that and I'm hopeful that all these different elements will also influence how the way we write and communicate these dietary guidelines. So thank you so much, Mpo, for your talk and engaging with us. Unfortunately, our time is up for now. So I'm going to thank you. I'm going to introduce, excuse me, our next speaker, which is Ms. Carla Poole. She is a registered dietitian. She's currently leading nutrition strategy for Vitality Wellness. She has decades experience in private healthcare insurance industry, working in Discovery Healthcare Service and strategic risk management in the population health management team. Sure, that's a tongue tire. She holds a master's degree in public health, focusing on health systems, as well as an honors degree in physiology from Stellenbosch in 2010, and a nutrition and dietetics honors degree from UCT that she completed in 2012. Thank you, Carla. We are very excited for your talk as well, so you are welcome to go ahead.
Thanks so much, Bianca. Just before I even start, I want to say, Mpho, thank you so much for your talk and the work that you do. I think it's a voice that's desperately needed in our country to teach people to stay true to who they are through the foods that they eat. So I think we need to do everything we can to amplify your message. I found it quite inspiring. So mine's going to be quite a pivot. I have a population view lens through the program that I work for, which is Vitality. So I'm the Vitality dietitian. I work in the wellness team there, and we do a lot of work in the clinical decisions and guidelines space for the program. So I want to talk about that and some of the considerations and work that we do in influencing behavior, because I think in this forum here today, it's well known what we should be eating and why. And a lot of people, a lot of the population might also know if you ask them what the right things are when it comes to eating healthy, but we have a lot of lack of skills on how to do that. And also people don't make rational choices. So there's a lot of work that we can do to influence behaviors, and it's a challenge on a population level that I find quite fascinating. So maybe just to introduce the program to you, Vitality at its core is a health promotion program. And our main purpose is to make people healthier and enhance and protect their lives. And we do this by embedding in other businesses in a shared value model. So we work with people to make them healthier, which in turn is good for the businesses, whether that's in lower claims or even better driving behavior. And then through the savings that the business realizes and the healthier members this model creates, we also impact society in a healthy way. So as I said, it's embedded in lots of different businesses. It's also partnered with some global companies, and we cover over 40 million lives at the moment. So I don't want to go too much into the detail of the behavior change program and the science behind it, but maybe just to mention that we have 3 pillars that we work on. The first part is getting the member to understand their health. So there are different screenings, and we cover a whole range of lifestyle risk factors, whether that's mental health, your activity, nutrition, vaccinations and other screenings you need to do. So we incentivize members to have these screenings done. You earn points for a lot of the activities you do with us, and those points then translate into status and reward. Once you know your health, the idea is to improve your health by engaging with benefits on the program. And there is a whole range that I'm not touching on today because I want to focus on the nutrition strategy that's embedded in this. And then we incentivize the members, give them rewards, give them discounts on anything from travel, healthy foods, even the petrol that they buy. At the core of this, the science that we use is behavioral economics. So as I mentioned at the start, behavioral economics explains how and why we behave the way we do in the real world. A lot of us know what the right thing is to do, but we don't act rationally. Humans aren't rational. So we prefer to stick with the status quo. Behavior change is very hard. It requires us to invest time and energy. So it's easier not to make changes, even if we know that it is healthier. But what we've seen through behavioral economics is that if you reward at the right time and with the right kind of incentives, it can motivate someone to stay on track with the behavior changes and form healthier habits. So in a nutshell, that is the Vitality program and the science that drives it. And it's really important work at the moment. I think everyone can agree. We know the importance of a healthy lifestyle. There are 4 main risk factors at the moment: physical inactivity, poor nutrition, smoking, and alcohol abuse, which is causing 4 of the main chronic conditions that we're seeing. So lung disease, heart disease, cancers, and diabetes. And those 4 conditions are responsible for 60% of deaths worldwide. So if we put that in a different way, 41 million deaths annually each year across the globe is because of decisions that we're making every day. And there are many reasons for this. I think we've already touched on the food environment that we're living in. Energy dense, nutrient poor food is often cheaper and much easier to get to. We also were impacted by marketing, poor sleep, our mental health add to the challenge. So it's really a very complex environment that we find ourselves in. And I think it is understandable that members might be confused about what the steps are to a healthier life. So I feel that in the work that we do, it's very important to have a very clear and simple message about what it is to eat healthy, to cut through all of the noise in the food environment. So to be very consistent with your message and to make sure that you're following international and local guidelines, and that everything you say is evidence-based. So we know people are making unhealthy decisions, and it's creating a very big problem in terms of obesity rates globally. So in South Africa, we're seeing quite staggering numbers. 68% of South African women are overweight or obese, and we're seeing quite an unfortunate trend with a rise in overweight stats amongst our children. So it's important that we tackle this, and a lot of the work that we do as a behavior change program is to work on obesity. Just to share some of the stats that we see in our other businesses, on the health insurance side, we know that if you are obese, you are 6.5 times more likely to be registered with diabetes, over 4 times more likely to be registered or diagnosed with hypertension compared to someone with a healthy weight. And on the life insurance side, we know that the risk of death, so the mortality rates, also increase as the weight increases. So it is incredibly important that we address this and help people to make changes. I know the conversation on overweight and obesity is also evolving and being recognized as a chronic condition, which I think is important. We surveyed our members, and we know that those that want to reach a healthy weight want to do it to better their health, to feel better and look better. They want to have a healthy weight for better mental health and to increase the vitality status, which just speaks to the incentives and the rewards working to motivate that behavior change. But losing weight is very hard. We asked our members what the top challenges are, and they responded by saying they need more support in doing it. They don't have the time to engage in healthy behaviors. The cost of food is a big one, and they need more guidance on skills and how to lose weight. So these are quite important data points for us to consider when we are designing and setting strategies. And so just to share the Vitality Nutrition strategy with you, it aligns with those 3 pillars I mentioned of know your health, improve your health, and get rewarded. So under the Know Your Health bucket, we have a Vitality Age questionnaire where we calculate your relative risk based on a lot of your lifestyle risk factors as well as intermediate risk factors. So your weight status, your glucose levels, blood pressure, and your cholesterol levels, which is all part of the Vitality Health Check. So those results, along with the questionnaire results of your lifestyle behaviors, get fed into an algorithm that then gives you your vitality age, which compares you and your lifestyle risk factors to someone with healthy behaviors of a similar age. And I think that's a very important tool to start off a health journey, because it raises awareness of where there are areas in your risk profile where you might need to make some changes. So the Vitality Age Questionnaire and the Health Check are really important tools in our overall strategy. We ask members to complete these every year, and it's tied to the level of incentive that they get. So if they completed both, they get more rewards, and I'll explain that a little bit later. And then, of course, the dietitian visit can almost fall into the Know Your Health and Improve Your Health buckets. It's a very important role that the nutrition that dietitians play to help with nutrition assessments and personalized interventions. To improve your health, we have a few benefits that I'll explain in detail. We have various benefits here, including a Vitality Healthy Weight program that helps members. We partnered with a company to give discounted access to this program, where you either sign up for 3 or 6 months. A dietitian then walks this path with you to keep you accountable, provide tailored meal plans, and help keep you accountable and track your progress. Then you can also earn points for doing the assessments, as I mentioned. Buying healthy foods gets you points, visiting the dietitian, and then also your progress throughout the Healthy Weight program. And you get discounts, so real cashbacks on the foods that you buy and the meals that you buy. So these are the strategies. And I do just want to say, it can't end here just by having these available. It's not enough to drive behavior change. So there is a lot of work over and above having these benefits in place and this process in place to drive engagement and to understand, if the benefits are here, how do we get members to actually take it up, and is it making a difference? So apart from the strategy, there's a lot of other work that goes into getting people engaged with the program. So just to expand on our way that we think about getting people to improve their health, we want to think about all the places that they eat and make decisions that impact what they eat. So we want members to buy better quality foods. We want them to cook their own meals more often and make healthier choices when they are eating out. So the healthy food benefit is probably one of our flagship benefits. It's one of the more popular ones, and it gives members cash back for buying healthy foods. So this catalog of what the healthy foods are is work that we do in the wellness team. So we take a look at international and local guidelines of various food authorities. And then we draft the catalog for what qualifies. It's a lot of foods that are free from additional salts, sugars, and fats, and lots of fresh fruits. So if you think about fruits, vegetables, legumes, lean meats, in each of the food groups, we guide members towards the healthier options. So that is the core benefit that we've had for many years. We've made a change to it now in response to how we see people buy. I think a key strategy in making sure that you're giving members something that they can actually respond to is to keep an eye on their behaviors and how the food environment around them changes. We are seeing a lot of online shopping at the moment. So at the moment, you choose one of our 2 partner stores, Pick and Pay or Woolworths, and you get a discount of 25% at one of them and 10% at the other one. But in response to the online shopping that we're seeing, more than 58% of our members are buying either online and in store, and it's not always the same partners. So we've brought in an extra partner from next year, and you'll be able to choose a primary online partner and a primary in-store partner, and they don't have to be the same. And I think from a clinical and nutritional perspective, behaviorally speaking, it's really important to bring in this change because it increases the access. If members are buying at these stores, they're buying online and in store, the benefit needs to change and move to make sure that members keep having access to healthier options. And then just to mention, if you register with a pregnancy for us, part of the baby benefit is that you get 50% also double your cashbacks on healthy foods to support members in getting access to these foods when they need it most. Then another part of the work that we do with our partners is to make this very visible and easy to access. You can see here an example on the Woolworths website. I went into a section that is dedicated to foods where members can earn cashback. So Vitality Healthy Food Benefit page. You can filter further by category, but there's a banner explaining the benefit and the fact that you get discounts. Each of the items that we have is marked with the Vitality logo. And this is a very important continuation of the benefit to raise it in members' awareness. So it's a strategy of food labeling, essentially guiding members towards the healthier options when they're making choices in store or online, that we have visual markers guiding them towards the healthier options. Giving them the ingredients is one part of the eating journey. We know that people need help in cooking, so how to transform the ingredients into something that's really delicious and still very healthy. That is a core focus of our Healthy Food Studio. So here we have collaboration with some amazing chefs. We review all the recipes together, so the chefs will prepare the recipes according to guidelines that we state for them. We review all of the recipes that get made in this kitchen, and it plays a very important role in bringing people in, teaching them the skills on how to make the meals. We are working on how to expand this access and this concept and the work that we're doing there to the regions. And I think a big step in the right direction was during COVID when we launched the Vitality Home Cooking channel. So on there, it's on the website. There are lots of recipes and videos that go along with the recipes of healthy foods, healthy meals. And you can see we brought in some celebrity chefs. We also leveraged our own chefs, in-house and dietitians to help us with these videos and support members in a time, this happened during lockdown, but in a time where they couldn't, where they needed to cook a lot of the meals themselves, where the alternative was ordering in unhealthy foods. This was a very important strategy. We also gave them some daily recipe ideas and other recipes to try out. So we really worked hard at extending the cooking skills component of the strategy to all of our members during that time. Then the next section is to eat healthier. So we have some partner restaurants. Kids earn double on the qualifying meals, and our team reviews each and every one of the meals at these partner stores to determine which ones qualify for the benefit. Members can then easily identify, and I'll show you what the logos look like on the menus. They know which ones are qualifying meals, meaning those are the healthier options, and they can choose those and earn cash back for it. The benefit originally launched just with restaurants. We've added You Cook and Frozen for You to increase the access to convenience meals and ready to eat meals. And here, just on the You Cook page, you can see there's a tick box where you can filter on the Vitality Healthy Dining benefits, and all the meals that qualify have the logo on it. And here you can recognize the familiar font of Nando's. So on their menus as well, you'll see this V mark for all of the qualifying meals. What I like about the food labeling part of the strategy is it raises awareness with our own members. They know to look out for it, but it's also available to anyone that accesses these partner stores, whether it's the grocery stores or the restaurants. It's a clear signal to show them that guidelines were applied and these are the healthier alternatives. If you are making a choice and you're choosing between two meals, if one has the tick mark and you know where it comes from and what it means, it can change behavior. Then I also think it's important to share research. So that's a lot of the work that we do in our team. We're forever doing research on our population or looking at how the products develop and evolve and change behavior. That's a very important component. So I thought I'd just show this one example. It's from a research paper we brought out after COVID, looking at the nutrition responses and what happened to the population. what we saw globally is that diets were worse off during the lockdown and COVID phases. People were eating more takeaways, a lot more frozen meals, lots of salty and sweet snacks, and more beverages. And our response during the pandemic was to double the discounts that members were getting off of healthy meals. So increasing the access, really supporting members by bringing a Vitality at Home channel up almost overnight with lots of videos on exercise, how to cope with the mental stresses of what we were going through, and then also making sure that we eat healthy. I think a lot of it also, we were quite aware of the strain that members were going through and how stressful it was. And just to tie in with today's theme, we know the impact of a healthy diet on the mood versus an unhealthy diet. So it was really important to make sure that members had access and they were aware of the importance of eating healthy during that time. And what we saw when we compared the lockdown period to the year before is that we actually had members buying 6.2% more healthy foods during that time than they were the year before. And I think when you put these two stats of the global trends and what we saw in our member base together, it really speaks to the power of influencing behaviors. When you act at the right time, you're responsive to what members are going through, and you have the right benefits in place. And then something a little bit for those that are interested in behavioral economics, I thought I would share this. We contributed, Dr. Deepak Patel, who's our principal clinical researcher, led this contribution to the Behavioral Economics Guide that came out this year. It's quite easy to find online. If you just type in the title and the date, you'll see it pop up, and there are so many interesting contributions in this paper, and I thought I'd just share some of the nutritional excerpts of ours. We also expand on some of the fitness interventions that we're doing and some of the results that we're seeing there. So if you are at all interested in changing behavior and some of the science behind it, I strongly encourage you to look at this paper. But what we showed from a nutrition perspective is we tracked how people were purchasing foods, what kinds of foods they were purchasing before they activated the healthy food benefit. So once you join Vitality, you have to take certain steps to activate the benefit. We need you to go through that process to get buy-in and to be aware of the benefit, to engage with it. So once people activate the benefit, it is clear as day that people change behavior and start buying healthy food. So there's a 6% and a 9% increase respectively, depending on whether they're earning 10% or 25% discount on the foods. So once you have members activate the benefit, there definitely is an increase, which is quite encouraging to see. So that was the one graph that we looked at. The other one was looking at behavioral messages, so nudges. We divided a diabetes population that we had into 5 randomized groups. So some of them, all of the members had diabetes, and we know that once you're diagnosed, you have to start buying healthy foods in order to eat healthy foods, to take care of yourself and your condition, to manage that properly. So we had a control arm that we didn't do anything to. Then some members received a message explaining the healthy food benefit and that it's important for their condition. We also sent a message from the perspective of a member with diabetes that had the benefit, and also from the position of a doctor or the member's provider recommending the benefit to increase access to healthy foods. And we also had a population where we sent a message around the importance of healthy foods, but also added a option there to opt in to activate the benefit, or to say, no, you don't want anything. So having that active choice. And you can see there from a behavior point of view, having the active choice at the time when you sent the message actually resulted in a higher activation of the benefit. And this is really important to us, because once you have the benefits, it's activated, you're engaging with it, we know that it drives good outcomes. The program's been around for a very long time, so we understand that the more healthy foods you buy there, on average, we see a decrease in weight across the population. The more engaged they are. We also see lower health claims on the insurance side, the more engaged they are with this benefit. So I think we really are aware of the importance of good nutrition for a good outcome. And it's something we work hard in bringing a lot of awareness. But yeah, behavior change is really hard. People are very context specific. So I think even knowing all of the theory and the science behind how people need to change, clinically knowing what the right decisions are, it doesn't always lead to behavior change if that person's not ready. So I think timing and addressing barriers, making it easy, raising their awareness, it's all really important work that we do on this side. So I also just want to acknowledge that the wellness team, as I mentioned, we do the clinical side, making sure that the programs and the outputs are science-based and evidence-based, but we do work with an amazing team from R&D to commercial and marketing, and many others, product specialists in the strategic program space. And it was it was great being able to share on behalf of all the amazing work that they do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carla. Yeah, that was very interesting. And I think the whole thing around, rewarding people for behavior, or, rewarding people for going in a certain direction, is something that we even see in academia, in the way we have to teach our learners and our students to, actually do the work we want them to do. The reward system seems to sort of do the thing in the space that we live in within the online world. So I don't see any questions in the Q&A, or wait, there's one. Okay, so it's just could Carla share an email address, please? I think you can maybe type that answer in for us, Carla, later.
Sure.
So I just have a question around, if you can comment on the healthy food and the healthy dining experience that you also are involved in. So is there also space in there for, feel like it's so cultural specific that that it doesn't have specifically a place in a public platform, if I can put it like that. I'm not sure if my answer makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's such an important question. My mind was racing during Paul's talk, trying to figure out how we do this. It's a very different conversation when you're working with such a diverse population as we have in South Africa. I think the product design that we do and the messages that we put out there, or how we design it, there's a lot of other considerations that go in there. Our message definitely is to include beans, legumes. I know we have shockingly low stats on that, which I think is another reason why her message is so important. And it's something that we definitely drive members towards. So in terms of the healthy dining and the healthy foods, we have partners. So it depends on the availability at those stores of the meals, but it absolutely doesn't mean that we can't amplify that message through our healthy food studio, through our social media, and the content marketing strategy that we have. So I definitely think there's space even for us to do more. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it is important. And then I also like the research that you shared, that discovery, or especially the nutrition part, and working with all the partners puts out there, because I think it is, the whole Vitality is such a unique system, almost, that the one thing feeds into another. I mean, we can try and create the most perfect research study, and we won't have all those components in that you actually have real life data on. So that's something I'm very interested in, and very excited to see that you're actually sharing it, because a lot of comments that you would get is that, Discovery only caters for a specific population group in South Africa, or not specifically population group, but people that can afford the medical aid and so forth. So it's almost like, you know, how do you see your responsibility in sharing this very unique information that you get with the public, the wider public, and actually making it applicable to people that doesn't have medical aid or that can't afford it. Yeah, so I'm excited actually to see that there is some information that is shared in terms of research that comes out.
I definitely think so. It's a fair point to say that it is a product that you get if you buy into some of the other insurance products, and there's a premium on the program as well. But I do think that there's a big need in South Africa to share local data. So even if it's not representative of everyone, it's at least contributing to the messages that we have, and sharing the insights, because context really matters. We can't duplicate, cut and paste interventions from overseas and think it'll work here. Much to Mpho's point, just we are so different, so unique and diverse, that I think solving for population-wide, and not speaking just the Vitality population, but South Africa in general, it is a big challenge. But I think we all need to do our parts. And I think I'm very encouraged by the work that we do and the reach that we can have beyond just the paid for product is through the research that we're sharing. We also do try and contribute to some of the conversations in the media. So we do those kind of engagements and talks, and we have a very strong social media strategy. So we have a specific Instagram page for the Healthy Food Studio where we aim to share some cooking tips, and that's open to everyone. And we also think that we have a big responsibility in the catalogs that we manage, because of all the examples I showed of where we are becoming public facing. So on the recipes, making sure people understand what that means and how that can help them. Yeah.
There's a question here from Elise in the Q&A. Programs such as Vitality motivates individuals to make better choices, but are there any work from your side with the industry to really try and make options better? We know that there are a few that work with you, but are takeaway companies, for instance, even interested into making changes to the foods they offer? So this is more on the environment side, which we know is a big problem. If you can maybe comment on that.
Yeah, it's a really difficult conversation to get someone to reformulate their meals. I know in the past we've had conversations. Interestingly, we even have franchises that reach out to us to find out our guidelines and how we think about healthy meals, because the healthy dining benefit is quite unique. I don't know of any other examples where people have come up with something like that. So we do have interest from from restaurant groups that want to learn from us and understand our guidelines that we look at when they are reformulating their own or doing product development. So it's not something that we share publicly, but we do get those kind of queries and try and help them as best we can. I would love to work with someone to reformulate, but I think a lot of the work is already being done just by the response of members and the demand from their side. If you take a look at things like convenience meals in the stores, from what we had before lockdown and what we have now, there are so many plant-based options. There are healthy alternatives. And I think it is because as a society, we are becoming more aware and there's a demand for it. So we haven't directly influenced any reformulation in a one-on-one partnership capacity, but I do think that the tide is changing and members are speaking up and creating a lot of the change we see.
Yeah, I think it's so important if it comes from, the consumer side and the members side. If they can push more, then it sort of almost forces industry to reformulate and change the environment. And I think that is almost sort of the missing piece for me sometimes in the behavior change model, is that part that often gets neglected. So I think I'm going to take one last question. So we have a question from Joel. This is a stunning eye-opener into some grey areas, but how widely spread is the awareness of this Vitality program outside of South Africa?
So quite wide. I think I mentioned it very briefly, but Vitality has gone global. So at the moment we have over 40 partnerships. I think we're on most of the continents, where the Vitality shared value concept of healthy lifestyle, incentivizing people, and it's not just on the health industry. Car insurances, getting people to drive healthier, life insurance. A lot of those businesses are interested in the model and what it does. So you'll find that there are a lot of partnerships with overseas insurance businesses. Off the top of my head, I can think of AIA. So in Asia, there's quite a big market, and we've partnered with some American companies, and that's expanding all the time. So at the moment, about 40 markets, I think the last stats I saw.
Yeah, that's impressive. Sorry, I'm gonna correct myself. I'm gonna allow one last question. So it's from Rensha. She posted in the chat. Thank you for a good presentation. Could you please expand on the dietitian's role as part of the Vitality Wellness Program? Lots of changes at the moment within the program.
Yeah, so at the moment, as I mentioned, nutrition is a key component to what we do, and we do work closely with dietitians. We also have regular meetings with ATSA just to keep them updated to what we do. So members are incentivized to go for the consultations. They get 1,000 points contributing to that status that I mentioned. And I think where the collaboration happens, and if you do have a Vitality member in front of you, it's important to make them aware of their benefits, because it helps your consultation and the message that you're trying to get across as well. Because the recommendations that you're making, if these are healthy foods, our catalogs are not anything extreme. It's really what all of us understand to be healthy, nutritious food. So by making your recommendations and your meal plans, the program can work with you to increase access for the members to those meals by making sure that members are discounted. If you have conversations about eating out, making them aware that they have the benefits, look out for the logos and pay less for those kind of decisions that they're making. So I think it's important for dietitians to be aware of the program. Members are incentivized to get points for it. And I think we're always looking at more ways of enhancing the collaboration, because dietitians get that one-on-one interaction to really personalize the nutrition guidelines, where our role is more broader. So I think it's a very important collaboration.
Thanks, Carla. I see there's also a question from Heather. Heather, can I please ask you to maybe post it in the Q&A, and then Carla can also answer you while we move on to the next speaker. So thank you so much, Carla. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of other questions and just interests. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks, Bianca.
So so our last speaker, I'm very excited for. I hope you are as well. So I'm going to introduce our last speaker, Chef Andile Somdoka. He is the owner of Enziku Restaurant, and he's a professional and highly regarded chef with 3 decades of experience. He's an international judge and an active member of the South African Chefs Association, and his career includes being the personal chef for global icon Nelson Mandela and former President Thabo Mbeki. Chef Andile is a regular speaker at cooking schools, highly sought after judge in master classes, and like any other chef, he enjoys gastronomy tourism. He is not just a chef, but an entrepreneur with a passion for nurturing young talent and job creation. A highly accomplished and result-oriented chef with more than 30 years experience. Chef Andile possesses a wide range of knowledge and experience that will allow him to contribute to the success of any establishment. He has an extraordinary ability of conceptualizing, developing, and implementing innovative menus to optimize guest satisfaction and retaining staff in his own restaurant. He has established the ability to prepare successful menus for special events. I think this is the perfect way to end this seminar, because it's all about feeling good while cooking good food. So yeah, thank you, Chef Andile. We look forward to your talk. You're welcome to start. I think you are just muted, Chef. think you are still muted. Let me just try this one. Let's try that. It seems like Chef can't unmute his mic, so let's just try and see if we can assist him.
I think Chef would need to exit and come back through because we cannot seem to unmute him on our side either.
Okay, would that be in order, Chef? Can you please maybe just rejoin the seminar, the symposium? It seems like.
Yeah, I don't think he's able to unmute himself for some reason.
So should we, so Chef, so you can you hear us? I guess you can hear us, yes.
Yes, you can
So
hear.
can you please then, can you please then leave the meeting or the seminar and then rejoin? Let's try that.
Yes, that's what.
He needs to unmute. Sorry, Andile, on our side it shows you're not unmuted. Is he gone
I
now?
think he already left the meeting.
Okay.
He's
Yeah,
gone,
just make
Alvina.
sure
We'll
he's
get him back.
unmuted when he comes back.
I think while we are waiting for Chef Andile, maybe Carla, can I put you on the spot again and ask some of the questions that we did not get time for?
Yes.
So we have a question from Heather. So she asks, does Vitality have any community projects to improve the South African population health apart from specifically now the Vitality members? So basically, how do you contribute to the population health apart from the members?
Yeah. So we'll often have partnerships with organizations through CSI initiatives. We've also done quite a bit of ad hoc work through the Healthy Food Studio that we have, cooking soup, making sandwiches, distributing those. But in terms of community outreach and our impact there as an organization, a lot of that gets done through the sustainability team. And sometimes we will help them out with health days. So they focus more on sustainable projects within the community. So at the moment, I know a big focus in the Gauteng area is Orange Farm, where we are working closely with schools and the communities there to impact jobs and raise awareness around health, making screenings available. And we have those in each region where we have offices. So KZN, Cape Town, ECP, they all have their own CSI communities that will then adopt. I know in Cape Town, for example, every 2 years they'll adopt a school where they do sustainable interventions like food gardens, health screenings for the teachers and working with them to see if there's any health needs that we can support and assist with. And then also just running workshops with them to empower them to teach the children as well. So there's quite a bit that happens, but it's on a more of a corporate level, but we do a lot in terms of giving back to the communities. And then ad hoc, just as a nutrition team on our side, we're always happy to support where we can and how we can, but those are more ad hoc.
Thanks. And then also just something maybe from my side as a personal interest is, sitting with all these extremely powerful data, is it and us as a nutrition society that looks at promoting nutritional science in South Africa, so we are more focused on the science side, just your perspective on how open of Vitality to share this kind of data with, I almost want to say, outsiders, or because we can also understand that it is a company and it's a close corporation, but is there any possibilities or something that you would look into in terms of that?
I don't think I can speak on behalf of our data integrity policy, but I do know that we have definitely in the past partnered with academic institutions to do research. I think it benefits the program and society to publish the research. So if there are questions, we're always happy to partner. We recently contributed some of our data to salt regulation studies, etc. So it's definitely possible. I think it would just be decided on a case-by-case basis and how the partnership would look like, but the data is definitely there. So if you have any suggestions, happy to look at them.
Yeah, how much time do you Thank you for that. I see Chef Andile is back online, so let's see if we are winning. Chef, can you maybe let's see if you can unmute your mic and share your video for us. So we can definitely see your video, but it seems like the unmute button it's a pity that we all can't speak sign language. That would have helped. Maybe I can ask the technical team, is there any other way we can assist him?
Unfortunately, I think there is something on his side. He needs to unmute. When he's joining in, there is an audio setting that he needs to click audio when you join in Zoom. I think that's where the problem is. We on our side cannot unmute him if he's selected no audio on the other side.
Well, there I see some, it seems like the unmute button is gone, but we are still not, not hearing you, Chef. You can hear us, okay? That's good. We still can't hear you, so at least we have the unmute button now sorted.
Chef, can you check your audio settings on your device that you're using? Check if he's using it.
It says connecting to audio. Maybe we're lucky. Still nothing.
Andile, are you using a phone or a computer?
Seems like he's using a iPad or something.
Yeah, he needs to select use Wi-Fi or audio. He needs to select it. Yeah, he's now connecting to audio.
Oh, apologies for this technical issue.
He can try talking because it said connecting to audio.
So let's see if we can hear you, Chef.
So, country.
Can you maybe test it now, Chef? No, I don't think we are getting somewhere. Chef, can you maybe say a few words so that we can just see if we can hear you? I don't think he's even able to hear us now. Let's try one last time, and then unfortunately, I think we will need to move on. This is technology for you. Chef, can I maybe ask you one more time to maybe try and unmute, and then we can see if we can hear you. If we can't, then unfortunately we will need to end the symposium a little bit earlier.
Can he please unmute because he's still muted?
I see he left now the meeting. Maybe he will rejoin again. So then we can try one last time. And if we can't get him heard, then we'll maybe end the seminar a little bit earlier. So luckily we are giving you some time in between to quickly check your emails. You're welcome to post some questions. If there's any burning questions still, then we can maybe answer some of those questions while we are waiting. But I have a question for you that came up in the chat. So what are the foods? I know you mentioned some that help in good mood. So do you think it's more on, specific foods that help with, getting into a good mood, or do you think it's the act of preparing foods and working with foods that helps with that good mood feeling?
It's both. The act of working with it's relaxing. There's some meditation practices that have been attended where we meditating through food, through the smell of food and the touch, and eating slowly that calms you down. But the effect of the mood, the chemical or biological effect comes from the gut. That if your gut works very well, then it will influence the mood. But if the gut doesn't work well, then the brain chemistry and stress and anxiety then will be raised. So it all needs to start from the gut. That's why what about the heading of the topic?
Yes.
Yeah, we all know after eating something sugary, then you high and you had a slump. But for sustained energy and mood, it needs to be something that is healthy. So you need to work on your gut for the brain to work.
Yes, I agree completely with that. Okay, so we have Chef Andile online again. So let's try one last time. Hold thumbs that we will get him to hear him. We are all really excited to hear him talk. So let's try one more time to see if we can get him to listen to him. Okay, so we can see you, Chef. I see your mic is muted. Nothing. I also know Chef is also traveling, so I think also he's not even in the country. So I think that might also have an effect on the connection, and so. Right. No, I can see that you are talking, but unfortunately we cannot hear you. So let's see, it's connecting to audio. Let's try one more time. Still nothing. All right. Well, I think we have tried. Unfortunately, the technology on that side is not helping us at all today. So I think we can maybe end the symposium a little bit earlier. I'm so sorry, Chef, that we couldn't hear you. At least we could see you. So yeah, hopefully in the future we can have another opportunity to hear you talk to us. I'm going to end off. I see there's one question that's still in the chat. If you have any other burning questions, please put them in the chat and we can maybe answer them while we still have some time left. So we have a question here for Mpo on how do you suggest some fun ways to use sorghum in a child-friendly recipe?
Oh, thank you. It depends on the age of the child. I think sorghum and millet, actually this year, it's the year of FAO's year of the millet. So sorghum and millet, yeah, sorghum is actually a millet. So they are used as weaning foods in a lot of cultures. That even in South Africa, you have the commercial product that is made out of sorghum. In most countries, then they would ferment them and use them, because then if you ferment it, it's pre-digested, it has higher vitamins and minerals, and also the protein is also more bioavailable. Then you can bake with them, especially when you're doing baby-led weaning, where children start feeding themselves when they're able to. That you can make flapjacks, you can bake, you can make bread out of it. If then when they get older, you can start giving them as whole. So a simple porridge, which is used in most cultures, work.
Thank you. Yes, I also find that earlier you introduce a child to certain foods, the more receptive they actually are to eat it. I can see it with my little one as well. So I think it's so important to take that opportunity to introduce them to a variety of food, and to incorporate them into what cooking is all about, because I can just see the excitement in her face if she helps me in the kitchen. And that's the way that we hope that one would feel if you actually cook a meal together. So I think it's an important lesson also to give over to our children. And then there's also a comment on, I find myself relaxed most when I cook and my mood is better. Though we hope, yeah, we can hear from Chef Andile, which unfortunately we are still struggling with. So yes, I don't think there's any other questions. Let me just, for the last time, check. Yeah, so there's two comments here in the chat. As a mental health dietitian, why is there limited research on relationship between mental health and food? We weren't even thought that it was that it's taught in at university. I think it's what he wanted to say. So yeah, the whole relationship between mental health and food. I think, Mpho, this is something that you are very passionate about.
Thank you for the question. There is research, but it's new. For me, it comes in 2 points. I'm interested in gut health because I'm finding that almost every one of my patients has gut issues, and until I clear them, whether you have high cholesterol, obesity, or diabetes, or issues with weight, then we're not gonna reach your goal. So I start working on that. The research on the microbiome is very, very big right now, where the research is still coming out on the effects of mental health in food. But I'm also interested in sensory health, and on touching and being in touch with food, like you were saying with cooking, that there is a relation. And also to realize that when talking about comfort food and food that affects your mood, it is culturally specific. I see Akuna is asking a question here about, I enjoy, like, good, she says good mood. Good mood is dependent on individual. She enjoys eating ripe plantain. It is true. The media has told us that when we all have PMS or it's Valentine's Day and you want to win a girl over, you need to eat chocolate. Chocolate is something that improves the mood, is culturally specific. It works for some people. In some people, they want plantain. Some people want I don't know, amadumbe for them is something that is specific to mood. But if you can look at these kind of food, they yes, they're culturally specific, but they're healthy. But we also view chocolate, because what we eat is not the cacao plant with phytonutrients and the healthy other healthy aspects. What we have is like 5% chocolate with a biscuit and sugar and unhealthy fats. We tend to think eating for your mood means it has to be something unhealthy and a forbidden, something that you have to eat something small and hide and be ashamed of it. But all our cultural foods are, for me, it's fermented sorghum in the morning. It's something that brings me closer to home. It makes me miss my mother. It is my comfort food. It doesn't make me feel like I'm eating something wrong. So whatever works for you, it's always something that brings you home, something that brings you comfort. You have people moving out of their countries to Japan, and you would get there, and when you miss home cooked food, you will find recipes to replace but still make it closer, to have the smell and the texture and the taste to lift your mood. So it is, but the core sign, something that can be measured, is it comes from the gut. It makes you feel good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's an excellent point to end the symposium on, especially with us, the whole country waiting in anticipation for the weekend to see, to watch the rugby, and we all have this mood and this feeling around it, and we usually pair that with food and how we couple that two together. So thank you so much to both of our speakers. Unfortunately, we could not hear from Chef Andile. Like I said, hopefully we will get him for next year's symposium, because I think he really has a lot to contribute to the nutrition world that we function in. So yeah, I would like to end to say thank you for everyone for joining, even through the technical glitches we had. Thank you for sticking with us. And yeah, I would like to leave you with a thought of what Mpho said around having that 5 core foods and recipes that's always your go-to this around the end of the year and finishing off work and deadlines. And so I think it's very important that we are aware of those connections between what we eat and how we eat and how it affects our mood. And to play on that, if you know what makes you feel good, to start your morning off with that. So to experiment more around that. So I'd like to leave you with a challenge to go and pick your 5 core foods and your recipe that you can always go to if you feel the need to go on Mr. D or Uber Eats to quickly get dinner if you're in a rush. So thank you so much for everyone for joining. We will see you next year again for our symposium, and we appreciate all the interaction and the questions you had. Please go and visit the websites that we posted in the chat. If you have any further questions, you're welcome to also make contact with us. We appreciate that you've attended. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.